Hello, and welcome to a brand new day of free-to-play here on Magic the Gathering Arena. Get the dish on the latest with me, Lord Rumfish. It's time for payback. It's time to revisit this Crimson Vow quick draft. I may not get in a third round with Crimson Vow before it rotates. The quick draft format keeps changing every couple of weeks. But let's go ahead and dive in here. Oh, Thalia. Interesting. Alright, so if you haven't followed one of my drafts before, I draft with a concept I call potential, where I look at the overall potential of the card to win the game by itself better than the other cards in the pack. And where I can, I try to prioritize cards that are lower mana value rather than higher mana value. So let's see. Thalia's not bad. First Strike is becoming a very rare ability. They like to give it out on creatures that attack, but not creatures that defend. Her ability to tax non-creature spells could be helpful or harmful. The way I draft, I tend to make decks that are very dense with creatures and have very little else. So Thalia would probably work just fine. She still just has a 10-turn clock, but the first strike makes it more likely that she'll get through. Overall, for her mana cost, I think her potential is pretty decent. Slowing down the opponent more than she slows me down could also help out the game overall. Storm Chaser Drake. This is not bad, right? A 2-power flyer for 2 mana. It's a very solid, aggressive card. Early flyers can win the game by themselves sometimes. Getting the added value on the Drake is harder, though. That requires you to play some cards that may not have any potential on their own to win the game, just to build up a synergy. Not that you need a synergy. 2-power flyer and limited is good enough. Overall, this is a pretty solid card. Edgar's Awakening, no potential. So this requires another card in order to do anything, and that's dangerous to put too many of in your deck. Lemhold Raconteur, decent. Right, even though you can't count on having the non-creature spells, flipping into a 4/4 on the night side means that this is a square deal at 4 mana and it's got added upside. Estwald Shield Basher, this is a good card. It's not a good blocker, or you could use it that way, but you'll probably feel like it's a waste. Because it's a very good attacker. It eats into your mana, but having a 4/2 indestructible thing you can attack with every turn means that if you can get to the point of parity or being ahead on the board, the Shield Basher will just start running away with the game. Cradle of Safety, very low potential. So because it's a permanent boost to a creature, this is sort of like a 1/1 with haste in terms of how much damage it can deal the opponent. Plus it makes the creature larger, more able to get in combat. Hexproof is a trick, one-time trick. Still, I'm not that impressed by the potential. Repository Scab, this is fine. You don't necessarily set out to have a lot of instants and sorceries at first, so I would start by thinking of it as a 3/3 for 4, which is, kind of filler. We're really looking for 4 power for 4 mana. That's kind of a baseline. Desperate Farmer. If you watched my last draft, which was a little rough, But the farmers did good work. They flipped over pretty consistently. It's not hard to lose creatures in combat, flip these farmers. And a 4/3 lifelinker for 3 mana is quite a deal. It's very difficult for the opponent to race with. They will almost certainly try to block and trade with it in combat. And if it hasn't flipped yet, it can change the way they play the game. They can let damage through in combat that they normally would have blocked, traded for. It's a good card. Gluttonous Guest. This has low potential on its own, but it's got some interesting synergy. Both with the Vampire deck, but also for the Toughness Matters deck. And a 1/4 for 3 mana is just kind of a roadblock for early game aggression. It can help you stall and set up to late game plays. So, I'm not going to pick this card highly, but it could be a useful role player in a deck. Mindleech Ghoul, kind of low potential. Potential doesn't care that much about the exiling a card from the opponent's hand. It's really looking at the ability of the Ghoul to win the game. And it's just a 2/2 for 2. It's a 10-turn clock. It has no special evasion abilities or anything. Right, so the first strike on Thalia and the flying on the Stormchaser Drake I would consider more valuable than the Mindleech Ghoul. In the Festivities, no potential on its own. Apprentice Sharpshooter, kind of low potential. The training and the high toughness makes it more likely that this turns into a 2/5 or a 3/6. But you can't depend on that. Again, this would be a pretty good role player in the Toughness Matters deck. And green-black is that archetype. This isn't the worst because of training, and reach creatures are useful. But I still don't think it's, the highest potential in the pack or anything. Sporeback Wolf's alright. Can crash in as a 2/4 on your turn, so more able to get in. Still kind of low potential, though. Ceremonial Knife. This is great as a 1-of in a limited deck. Not the thing you pick up early, you pick it up late. You don't probably want 2 copies. It is a blood token factory, though. You don't have to deal combat damage to the opponent. The creature will do. So it works if you get blocked. It works if you put it on a blocker and the opponent attacks into it. You can make so many blood tokens with this that you're at risk of drawing out, because you filter so many lands out of the way. It's a good card. And the power boost means that it does have some potential that it represents. Okay. So, strictly speaking, I think the highest potential cards in the pack are the Desperate Farmer, the Lamholt Raconteur, and the Shield Basher, with the Drake and Thalia close behind. However, it's kind of a close call. These are very good 2-drops, and I wouldn't mind having some Thalias in the collection. And because these other cards are not, crying out to me that they are so much better than Thalia and the Stormchaser Drake, I'm going to take the Thalia here. I won't necessarily be in white, though. Thalia's good, but she's not a reason to just, force white or anything. Skulking Killer, it's okay. 4 power for 4. Kind of better as a blocker, right? Has trouble getting in with 2 toughness. Might kill something of the opponent's. It's a weird card. It has to be the only creature they control. And then it needs to be small enough that -2/-2 matters, either for combat or to kill it. Let's see. Laid to Rest, no potential. Boarded Window, no potential. Retribution, no potential. Griff Rider, decent. I kind of think of training as you might be able to get a +1 counter on it. So if you can turn this into a 3 power flyer for 3 mana, that would be phenomenal. But training is bad when you're behind. And I don't like it for that reason. This isn't the worst, though. 2 power flyer for 3 is fine. And the training could turn it into a really serious threat. Kindly Ancestor. Low potential, but when you disturb this and put it onto a larger creature, the lifelink helps you to win damage races. And while that doesn't quicken the clock or anything, it's a nice boost for a deck to have. It's kind of a filler card, I would say. It's fine, though. Just fine. Steelclad Spirit requires a lot of enchantments, which probably take the form of disturb cards, right? Like the Spirit here. And I like to wait on cards that have a really difficult synergy ask, like this one. Right? Can't attack at all, unless you have the synergy built in. And that's risky to me. If I knew I had a deck that could do it, I'd go ahead, but I'm going to skip it for now. Low. None. None, but it's a good trick. Would not mind having a copy of it in a final deck at all. None. 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 Okay. Well, this is a pretty low potential pack, and between the Skulking Killer and the Griff Rider, I guess there's at least some chance the Griff Rider could be 3 power. Lunar Rejection, none. Bloodsworn Squire, decent. 3/3 for 4 is not the best, but has the potential to flip over and be larger. It would be at least a 4/4 when it flips over. And that would be a square deal. Gaining Indestructible is a nice upside. This is fair. Nothing exciting, but it's fair. Sigardian Paladin. Okay, this would work pretty well in a training deck. 4/4 for 4 is already a square deal. If a creature did train, this would gain Trample and Lifelink. The Lifelink's good in racing. Trample helps get through for damage. Then it can give other creatures with counters Trample and Lifelink. Yeah, if I ended up with a training deck, the Paladin would work very well in it. Nurturing Presence, kind of low potential. You need a creature to enter the battlefield every turn for this to deal 2 damage a turn. Which I don't like. And I don't like auras that much. Their card disadvantage. When the opponent points removal at it, they get 2 of your cards for 1. Unholy Efficient for a 1-drop, this is actually very good. It costs a ton of mana to do it, but I did all the math once, and it's got a decent clock. Right? Starting turn 5, you keep putting counters on it. Wins the game pretty fast. Lantern Bearer, kind of lowish potential. It can turn another creature into a dangerous threat, though. Not the worst. Aim for the head, none. Scavenger, kind of low. Death Touchers are nice, and the Drain is nice, and removing a creature from a graveyard is relevant in this format. The clock is slow, though. Belligerent Guest, square deal. Good card. Flourishing Hunter, high. So 6/6 for 6 is about what you want. And it's more likely to be able to win the game than like a 2/2 for 2. Right, a 6/6 is harder to stop, ultimately, than a 2/2 is. The life gain is a nice upside. Mulch, none. Evolving Wilds, none. Okay. So this is between Hunter, Officiant, Paladin, and Squire. I like to take lower mana value cards sooner, because a lot of high potential cards end up being 5 and 6 mana. So I would lean more towards the Efficient or the Paladin. I think the Paladin is the stronger card overall. The Squire is fine. I think the Paladin has more potential upside. I am not certain of my colors yet, but this seems like the best pick at the moment. Dreadfugue, none. Vampire Slayer, hello. Yeah, it has a relevant ability, but low potential. Dreadlight Monstrosity, pretty good. Square deal at 6 mana. Might be able to make it unblockable, but it's an enormous mana sink to do so. Overall, you know, it's about what you want at 6 mana. Lantern Bearer is fine. Sell-off and Tumors, I had. Low potential. Right? Has a 20-turn clock. None. Basically none. Right, you would need a lot of these in your deck for this to be a win unto itself, and you still need a creature to put it on. Belligerent Guest is fair. Lightning Wolf's fair. Sure Strike's none. Sporeback Wolf is low. It's okay. Alright, I could take Vampire Slayer to stay in white and cut off white as a really strong signal to the left. It's more important to read the signals coming from your right, but let's see, blue and red look a bit open here. Not sure exactly what the white-red archetype is doing in this set. Let's see, there are no cards with +1 counters to synergize with the Paladin here. Sporeback Wolf's not a strong pull into green. But I wouldn't say these blue or red cards are all that strong of a pull either. I think I'm going to take the Vampire Slayer here, send a message that white is cut off at the moment. But I'm going to keep my options open. If I keep seeing good blue and red cards, I might change my mind here. Oh, Catapult Fodder. So this is one of the signpost uncommons. I mean, there's an even stronger one as a signpost, I suppose. It's the Lumberknot, the Ancient Lumberknot. It's a 1/4 that makes your creatures assign combat damage with toughness rather than their power. But Catapult Fodder is another one that those two together make the win conditions of that deck. Right, so when this one flips over, you can throw your creatures at the opponent's face, and they lose life equal to its toughness. So if you start getting into this deck archetype, it turns everything on its head in terms of how you evaluate your cards. Suddenly you're looking at toughness instead of power. It's a really interesting deck. Black might not be open, but the archetype might be open. There are some good green cards here. Brambleworm's very strong. This is a very good card. It's kind of like a Titan of Industry to some extent, right? 7 power, reach and trample for 7, gain 5 life. Then you can exile it from the graveyard and gain 5 life. Brambleworm's good. Piercing Light none, Vampire Slayer low, Wretched Throng low until you get a lot of them. And then it starts to get interesting. Because if you can keep replacing your low potential cards with more and more and more, the value proposition starts to change and the inevitability of the game changes, and maybe the potential of the card changes too. The first one is bad. But once you've got a lot of them, could be good. Gluttonous Guest. You know what I have to think. Hungry Ridge Wolf, this is good. I don't think it's so good it would pull me into red here. Weary Prisoner is also very good. 6 power for 4 on the knight side. Very strong card. Sharpshooter's decent. Flourishing Hunter's good. Okay. Well... these green cards look pretty good here. I could speculate with this Catapult Fodder just because I love this archetype, but I don't know if I'm ready to throw away the things that I've drafted already. Brambleworm's such a good card. I think I'm just going to take it here as the strongest card in the pack and see where I go from here. Wash Away none, Cradle low, Stitched Assistant, fair. 3 power for 3. Wanderlight Spirit, fair. 2/3 flyer for 3. Not as good as a blocker. Doomed Dissenter, low. Aristocrats is a fun style to play though. Grisly Ritual low, Pyre Spawn high. This is a good card. Does a lot of good work on the battlefield. Right, so the 6 power is relevant, and when it dies, dealing 3, you could, burn out the opponent. You could also, kill one thing, then kill another thing when this dies. It just tends to have an impact when it comes down. Rural Recruit, this is high for its mana cost, actually. So the first time the Recruit attacks, it's very likely to grow to be a 2/2, which kind of makes this a 5 power, 3 toughness pair of creatures for 4. This is strong. Lard Heirloom, none. I think the Rural Recruit is the take here. Blue's looking kind of open, but I'm not that impressed with what I'm seeing. Okay. Blood Hypnotist. 3/3 is a very solid proposition at 3 mana. This one can't block, but 3/3s are very good at crashing in for damage, and this one, when you sack blood tokens once a turn, it makes a creature unable to block. Overall, this is a very aggressive, very strong card, especially for the vampire deck. Not as good elsewhere. Not really overwhelmingly strong though, right? If it had 4 power, it would be above rate. As it is, it's on rate. Nebelgast Beguiler, low potential on its own. One copy of this actually does pretty good work in a deck as a tapping creature, and also as a very big blocker. Low potential on its own, though. Scattered Thoughts, none. Bloody Betrayal, none. Festivities, none. Millipede, square deal. Right, it's usually not more than a 4/4, 5/5, or 6/6. It can be, though. Could also be less, right? You could be a little bit unlucky. It's only a 3/3 when you play it, but on average, I find it's about a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6. It's on rate. The +1 counters would be kind of on theme with some things we've got already. Spore Crawler is a fair deal. Good in an Aristocrats build. Winning Invitation, none. I think I take the Millipede here. Oh, +2/+0. That's dangerous. That's good. Yeah. And a big power boost like that would turn training on a lot more. Definitely worth considering a copy of it. Piercing Light, none. Sanctify, none. Serpentine, none. Sharpshooter, it's okay. It's decent. Probably might get it up to a 3/6. Dawnheart Disciple cares about humans. Needs a really high number of humans. Human, 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 insect worm. Oh, not the worst. You need some 2-drops just to fill out a curve. So if that's what I was looking at, I do have some humans here. This could be alright, this could do work for us. Rural Recruit, though, I think this is the stronger card. I want to take the cards with the most upside. Oh, Shield Basher's quite strong. Low, low, none, low. I like Ceremonial Knife. It's between the Ceremonial Knife and the Shield Basher. 3 creatures with training so far. Knife is better with those, except Shield Basher has high power, that's also good with training. I mean, I've got too many 4-drops right now, but I think I take it anyway. Okay. None, none. Don't have the synergies. Don't think we're getting there this game, this time around. None, none. Okay. No real options for the deck here. I guess there's an off chance that if all of the synergies fell into place perfectly, that Laid to Rest could make the deck. If the deck is just totally full of humans and +1 counters. There's a chance. There's a chance. Okay. Put it in the sideboard for now. Okay, none, decent for its mana cost. None, none, wholly efficient. Okay, Monstrosity, Entomber, Anger. Take the Monstrosity, put it in the sideboard. Ridgewolf and Prisoner. Well, I don't have a playset of Prisoners yet. I think it's the stronger card. Cradle. Oh, interesting. Hamlet Vanguard. 1/1, Ward 2, enters the battlefield with 2 counters on it for each other non-token human you control. Okay, I know I just looked at this, but okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 humans. If this is a 3/3 with Ward 2 for 3, that is a good square deal. Maybe even a little bit above rate. If there's any chance this comes down as a 5/5, then that's absurd. Completely absurd. And there is a high count of humans right now in this deck. This is in consideration. Very much. Geist. low. Biolumig. High, above rate, if you can sacrifice it. If you're in the blue-black archetype, right, you can sacrifice a creature, turn this into the Serpent. Then this is a very good card. It's for a very specific deck, though. Brambleworm's very strong. However, we've already got one, and it doesn't exactly synergize with the deck, it's just kind of generically good. I don't know how many 7-drops we actually want here. I kind of feel the Siren Song of the Humans pulling me away. Adamant Will none, Fear of Death none, Serpentine Ambush none, Bloodcray Socialite, pretty good. Especially if you can supply it with blood tokens, then it's above rate. As a 5/5 menace attacker. Better on offense than defense. Better when you're at parity or ahead. But overall, nothing wrong with the Socialite. Good card. Guest. Daybreak Combatants. I've talked about this one before. The clock is 2 turns faster than a 2/2 for 3, right? The haste takes a turn off the clock, and the +2 power boost takes a turn off the clock. So instead of a 10-turn clock after it comes down, it's 8 turns from there. And it's not a very impactful human on the board. And red doesn't have a lot of good human synergies. This, oddly enough, can do better work in Constructed when you're trying to build a collection, make a red deck, than it does in Limited. Fearful Villager, this is good. This is a good card. Fire Spawn's very good. Spore Caller's fair. Ceremonial Knife is nice. I'm going to try this Hamlet Vanguard. Keeping an eye out for humans now. Demonic Bargain. Probably a death sentence in Limited. No potential. Wash Away. No potential. Archghoul. Square Deal. Pretty good. Luring Suitor. Solid card. Especially if you can flip it over. Not so good if you don't flip it over, but once it's flipped, it's a very nice effect. None. Low-ish. Low. 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 None. Low. None. None. Okay. This is not a great pack for us here. Not really seeing green, not much white either. Well, with that in mind, we don't have that many 3-drops yet. Could take the Spirit, Kindly Ancestor. Could also look at Piece of Mana, Adamant Will, to give us a combat trick. And could rare draft, of course. I think we go ahead and do the 3-drop here. Kindly Ancestor might get cut. Distracting Geist. So-so. This is a card that's, you know, pretty good when you're ahead and not so great at other times. Witness, Future, none. Infantry, pretty good. It's a 2/2 for 2, and then it also turns into an aura for +2/+2 that doesn't cost you a card. And that can turn one of your already decent creatures into something that the opponent has trouble dealing with. which is pretty good for a 2-drop. Retribution, none. Chill, none. Tumor, low. Fair on the Spirit. Fair on the Bat. Pretty good on the Celebrants. Menace, makes it likely to connect. Power Spawn's also good. Sheltering Boughs, low. Does give a power boost, so it does quicken a clock, but don't care for auras that much. Ceremonial Knife. I still like the knife. I think the Drogskull Infantry is the take for the deck here. Okay, let's see. Screaming Swarm, pretty high. 4/4 flyer for 6 is a little under rate, but... Or maybe it's about on rate since it flies. Yeah, since it flies, I'd say this is maybe about fair at 6 mana. Can mill the opponent a little bit, but the really cool thing is you can get this back from your graveyard. So in addition to being a pretty solid threat, it has inevitability. Good top end on a blue deck. Traveling Minister. Low on its own, but it's a human, and the power boost can help other things get through and turn on training. So this is starting to look like a, synergy piece for the deck. Chill, none. Fear, none. Assistant, fair. Aim through the hip, none. Desperate Farmer's good. Gift of Fangs can be very good in a vampire deck. Otherwise it's just removal. And not always, if the opponent has vampires. Vampire's Kiss, none. Sure Strike, none. Hunter, pretty high. Okay. So this is between the Traveling Minister and the Flourishing Hunter. I've got a couple of nice top-end things on the deck here, and 4-drops are definitely filling up. I think the Hamlet Vanguard would like to make the cut into the final deck. I think the Traveling Minister can make the training creatures like this Griff Rider into actually good cards. I'm going to take the Minister here, strangely enough. Rack Hunter, square deal. Perish Blade Trainee. Normally I would not like this at all, but I think we're starting to build up a critical mass of stuff where this might be the take. Normally I would consider this a 2-3 for 2, which is, it's okay. But this deck could make it more. Alright, we have things like the Shield Basher and the Rural Recruit and the Paladin that can definitely get this up to 3 power or higher. Supernatural Rescue, ugh. Low. Chill of the Grave, none. Dreadlight Monstrosity, square deal. Not for us. Not for us. This is an okay card in the Toughness Matters deck. It's just kind of garbage everywhere else. None. A decent bit of giant mana sink. Could turn on training in this deck. Oh, it's okay. Okay. Not the worst. Probably prefer things that aren't mana sinks, but I mean, this would do okay in the deck. Blood Servitors, pretty low. Okay, so this is between the Snarling Wolf and the Perish Blade Trainee. Normally in this spot I'd probably go with the Snarling Wolf, but we've got this human synergy kicking on, and a +1 counter synergy kicking on. I think... Normally I don't like this card very much, but I'm going to take the Perish Blade Trainee here. Okay. We're deep enough in at this point I'm not going to pay too much attention to off-color cards, unless they're so good I would splash them. And that is it would take a very strong card to go off-color. So, with that in mind, these green cards are not the best. Bramble Armor could actually help out with the training. That, okay, that's a thought. That's a thought. Massive Might could help out with the training too. I like permanent tricks more than one-time tricks. I like equipment more than combat tricks. Witch's Web is a really, really strong combat trick. I would take it over Massive Might any day. And Evolving Wilds would smooth out the mana for us. Okay, so here's the thing. Bramble Armor and Witch's Web. These are probably the strongest takes for the deck. But they're not guaranteed to make the final cut. Not at all. And Evolving Wilds is definitely going to make the final cut into the deck. So I'm actually going to take the Evolving Wilds here. Okay. Radiant Grace. Kind of a low impact card. Can turn on some more training. Vigilance is a nice ability. And then still get value out of it once the aura dies. Makes opponent's creatures come in tapped. Could let you run away with an aggressive start. Well, I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Keep looking. There's another Millipede that works with the +1 counters theme with the Paladin. Toxic Scorpion's kind of a generically useful card. I don't think it synergizes very well with this deck, though. Okay, I'm between the Radiant Grace and the Millipede. This Sigardian Paladin is making the final cut into this deck. And that means if I know I have creatures that can come in with +1 counters, that's valuable. So I think I like the Millipede here. Especially since I already have one. Right, this is not a creature. So if I mill this into the graveyard, it did nothing for me. If I mill another Millipede into the graveyard, it's benefiting me with synergy. Imprisonment. Maybe this is square removal. Rural Recruit. Man, I'm pretty high on this card. And Evolving Wilds. Well, I know the Evolving Wilds will make it in. I'm pretty sure the Rural Recruit would make it in, though. A little light on 3-drops. Having an aura might be nice. Removal. Just got 3 3-drop creatures right now. I've got to keep an eye on that. Need more 3s. I'm taking this Rural Recruit, though. This is a pretty bad 2 for us. Yeah, I'm taking the knife. I don't especially want to pick up a second copy of Ceremonial Knife, but 1 is probably going to make the cut into the final deck. Nothing really here for us. There's a chance the Heirloom could make it in. Actually, with the deck being a little light on 3-drops, this probably gets cut later, but I'm taking it now. Okay, it's between the bows and the knife. Either one seems like a very good option. Already got a play set of knives. I have no Chill of the Grave. Yeah, I'm just going to add to the collection here. Hold down the Alt key, by the way, and it'll show me how many copies of a card you have. Right, so I have no Vampire's Kiss here. We'll add one for the collection. Well, that's the lousiest of 3-drops, isn't it? This will get cut later. I'm taking it for now. Wolf. Edgar. Okay. He's threatening on his own. But if the opponent kills this 4/4, then you get 3 life-linking vampires, and he comes back. And since he's already been in play, it's like he has haste, right? He doesn't have summoning sickness when he flips back from the coffin. And then he boosts your other vampires, which I don't have a lot of. I've got like this Unholy Officiant. Don't think I have any other vampires. But he's so good on his own. Edgar is so good on his own, I may splash him as a black card. That would be a reason maybe to keep the heirloom in. I am thick on 4-drops right now, though. Something to keep in mind. Let's see. Thick on 4-drops. Don't really need the Shield Basher, especially. I've got so much at 4. Griff Rider, I do need things at 3. And it fits the theme. Geist is good, especially for a Spirit deck. Right, it's a 3/3 flyer, and then it's 2 more 1/1 flyers. Kinda need a Spirit deck to turn it on. Let's see. Not taking these green auras. Okay. I think I'm taking the Griff Rider here. I need 3-drops. And Edgar's very strong. Edgar is a big temptation, right? To put black mana in. But I find that mana inconsistency in Limited is one of the ways that you lose the game quite often. Right? Once you get to 3 or more colors, you need a lot of fixing to make it work. I'm going to take the Griff Rider here. Howling Moon's not for us. Bride's Gown is good, though. This is a strong enough piece of equipment I might consider running it. +2 power is a big deal for training. Shield Basher. Big old Flourishing Hunter on the top end. Mulch, Witch's Web. I think I take the Bride's Gown here. I think it works well for the training in the deck. Dig Up. Well, it would let me find a mana. I'm not going to have the double black, though. Whew, another Rural Recruit. Green and white are drying up a little bit in this pack. Okay. 4 Rural Recruits. Plus a Shield Basher, plus a Paladin. Is that realistic? Is that something that I run? Is what I need here yet another 4-drop? Or can I just rare draft? I think if I get my human count high enough, it makes the Hamlet Vanguard better and better, right? I could cut out things like the Millipede and the Brambleworm. Really pack in the humans. I'm going to take the Rural Recruit here. Okay, yeah, Radiant Grace. Retrieve, I do like this card. I'd probably rather have creatures, though. Militia Rallier. Well, this is a pretty solid 3-drop here for this deck archetype. Can't attack alone, but that's not that big of a deal. And it untaps a creature when it attacks. Might be the take here. Beguiler would be okay, but not great. Minister might be decent. I'm pretty happy with the 1-drops we've got, though. Snarling Wolf would be okay. Yeah, I think it's Militia Rallier here. Pack the curve. Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna splash Child of the Pack. I think it's a good card. Heron Blessed Geist is good. Weaver of Blossoms is a human on the front side. It helps the human synergies. And I want to make sure I've got plenty of 3s. I'd rather have human more than a spirit, I think. I'm going to take the Weaver of Blossoms here. It's not a human on the knight side, but I think we can make this work. Not for us. Okay, Dawnheart Disciple. I think it's time. It wasn't time before, it is time now. Survey would be okay. Probably don't need it though, right? 4 is where I want to play creatures, not ramp. Let's see. Crushing Canopy, Massive Might. I don't think any of these are making it into the deck. Yeah, I'm gonna take this for the collection, put it in the sideboard. Oh, that's a late Ancient Lumberknot. Let's see, do I want to mulch? Okay, being responsible here, the Evolving Wilds will make the final deck. It will, it just will. Okay. Geist is actually a pretty good card. I think I'm up to the point of making cuts. There might be coming off the top end. I feel pretty thick with playables here, and I want a really high human count. So yeah, Geist is good, but I think I've already got everything I need. Yeah, I'll take the uncommon. Does better vault progress with uncommons, right? So your vault, it's 0.3% for an uncommon, 0.1% for a common when you get past 4 copies. Witch's Web is a good trick, but I like creatures more than tricks. I would just end up cutting it if I took it here. Yeah, I take the uncommon again. The deck is built at this point. Yeah, take the uncommon. Let's see. Go ahead and take my first scab, why not? Guess I'll take the Entomber. Bramble Armor. With Bride's Gown and Ceremonial Knife, that Bramble Armor has no shot of making the deck. Okay. Here we go. Make a few cuts. Blood Servitor can go. Ancestor's not amazing here. Like these 4s, like these 5s. Brambleworm's a little random up at 7. don't think it serves the needs of this deck. And probably could cut the heirloom. "21 creatures. It's about how I like it. Got a knife, ceremonial knife, and a bride's gown to keep putting the pressure on. Let's see. Yep, pretty even breakdown, plains and forests. The Evolving Wilds will help smooth this out. Weaver of Blossoms can help too. Yeah, I think I like this. Oh, final human count 16. 16, that's great. This Hamlet Vanguard is probably going to be really good. That's exciting. That is exciting, guys. Oh, imagine getting this as a 5/5 or more. That'd be crazy. Alright. So I'm pretty happy with this deck. Join me next time. We'll take it out into live play. Until then, stay cool.